It's Sweet 16 weekend. I hope you enjoyed the games last weekend. Should be even better this weekend, even though there's less games. I'm going to talk a little bit about the tournament so far, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the games that I'm going to be watching this weekend. I'll watch them all, but there's a few of them that really catch my eye as far as entertainment and styles. So I'll talk about those too. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is how the NCAA selection committee put number one Houston in the Midwest region in Indianapolis to play Purdue in this round. Now, Purdue's campus is only 69 miles away from Indianapolis, where Houston is over 1,000 miles away. So if Houston can actually get past Purdue in this first game on Thursday in the Sweet 16, they'll have to play in the Elite Eight, the winner of Kentucky and Tennessee. Those two campuses are close also. Tennessee's campus is 359 miles away, and Kentucky's campus is only 188 miles away. So they really did not do Houston any favors by putting them in this region. They're going to have to earn their way to the Final Four. We'll see what happens this weekend there. I'm going to talk a little bit about the conference breakdown and the seeding breakdowns of the teams that made it to the Sweet 16. So the SEC had 7 teams, Big Ten 4, Big 12 4, ACC 1. Now, of those teams, we had all 4 number 1 seeds have advanced to the Sweet 16. We had 3 of the number 2 seeds advance. The only one that lost was St. John's. We had 2 of the number 3 seeds advance. We had 3 of the number 4 seeds advance. 1 number 5, 2 number 6s, and 1 number 10 seed, and that was Arkansas. Every one of the teams that advanced to the Sweet 16 are from a power conference. So these teams and these conferences have the most money. So the money this year in the tournament, there's no doubt, created success for the teams. As far as spending, basketball budget spending, Kentucky has the largest budget of any of the basketball programs at $24 million. Duke, second largest at $21.4 million. Michigan State, Tennessee, Texas Tech, and Arizona all spend about $16 million on their basketball program. Auburn's basketball budget, $15 million. Alabama, Ole Miss, Arkansas, about $13 million apiece. Maryland, $12 million. BYU, Houston, and Purdue spend $11 million. Florida, $8 million. And Michigan comes in at only $6 million. So all these wealthy conferences and all these wealthy schools have turned the money into success in college basketball. It's a trend that I don't think a lot of people like. A lot of people like to see the mid-majors succeed and the Ivy Leagues and some of these smaller conferences succeed. What it does is it takes the Cinderella that everybody loves out of the second half of the tournament. So we'll see moving forward how that all happens and changes if it does. But I know a lot of people that I talk to don't have as much interest now moving forward in the next couple weeks because the underdog is not there to root for. Anyway, I'm going to look at some of these games, the ones that I think are going to be interesting. So we're going to start out on Thursday at 6 p.m. on CBS. And this game, if you like offense, this game is for you. It's the 6th-seeded BYU Cougars against the 2nd-seeded Alabama Crimson Tide. And Richie Saunders is the leading scorer for BYU. He averages about 16 points a game. Mark Sears is the leading scorer for Alabama at about 18 points a game. Now, Bama is the top scoring team in the country at just over 90 points a game. And BYU is 26th in scoring at about 82 points a game. Now, Bama is relentless on the boards. They're first in the nation in rebounding. They average about 46 a game. The free throw percentages for both teams are about the same, so there's really no advantage there. This game is going to be won, in my opinion, on the defensive end, because neither one of these teams is very good defensively. Which team can play better defense, especially guarding the three-point shot? That, to me, is the key. Also, watch the point guard matchup between Mark Sears, who's 6'1", and Igor Demin, who is 6'9". Sears is going to have, obviously, a tough time getting off his shots with Demin on him. Sears will try to go to the basket and penetrate and get fouled. He goes to the foul line a lot and shoots a lot of free throws. So watch out for that. The next game I want to watch, the 10th seeded Arkansas Razorbacks against the 3rd seeded Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now, as I said, Arkansas is now the underdog in this tournament, being a 10th seed. This game is Thursday at 9 on TBS. Now, each one of these teams has a star player that's been out for them for a number of games. So for Arkansas, it's Adu Thero. And for Texas Tech, it's Chance McMillan. Right now, as I am filming this, the status of these two is uncertain. I don't know if one of them or both of them are going to play. Very important players for these teams. I think if one of them gets a player back and the other one doesn't, that team could have a significant advantage. There's going to be athletes all over the floor in this game. This game is going to be fast-paced, very tight defensively. So by one of these two players coming back, what it will really do is create more depth for that team and more bodies to roll on the floor to get more minutes out of their players. So the Red Raiders in particular need a big game from JT Toppin, who's averaging about 18 points a game. But the thing is, he's an inside player at 6'9", but the thing is, Arkansas, they've got the size inside and the athletic ability to match up with him, and they're actually 4th in the nation in blocks at about 5.7 blocks a game. The next game on Friday, this game is on Friday at 6:30 on TBS, the 3rd seeded Kentucky Wildcats against the 2nd seeded Tennessee Volunteers. Now, Kentucky has played Tennessee twice this year. Kentucky is 2-0 against Tennessee this year. And Kentucky comes into this game 6th in the country in scoring at 85 points a game. And Tennessee is 8th in scoring defense in the country at 74.6 points a game. So this is one of those games where it's strength on strength and something has to give. Again, just like the Texas Tech and Arkansas game, you're going to have athletes all over the floor. Tightly contested, battle for loose balls, rebounding. The thing that I think is going to be a factor in this game is Kentucky has been very inconsistent this year. And you don't know which Kentucky team is going to show up. So that's going to be the question for me. I also think that Kentucky being 2-0 against Tennessee this year, it's hard enough to beat a team twice, but to beat them 3 times in a year is really hard. So one other thing I'll just throw in, I am not a Rick Barnes fan, the coach of Tennessee. I think he really underachieved when he was at Texas, and I don't really have confidence in him getting Tennessee much further, if even past this game, but we'll see what happens. The next game is Friday, 8:30 on CBS. Michigan against Auburn. Now, I talked last week about Michigan's 2 7-footers, Golden and Wolf, and what I said exactly was right. Teams are having problems matching up against those 2 big guys. Now, Auburn is going to try to stop those 2 with Dylan Carwell and Johnny Broome. Broome has not been playing well the last couple weeks. I actually think that he has an injury that's not being disclosed. He just does not look the same. If the bigs neutralize each other out, the game is going to be won in the backcourt. And I think Auburn's guards defensively have what it takes to shut Michigan's guards down and outplay them. But I think if the bigs for Michigan play really well, there's a really good chance that they upset the top-seeded Auburn Tigers in this game. The last game I'm going to talk about is a game I mentioned a little bit earlier. The 4th-seeded Purdue Boilermakers and the top-seeded Houston Cougars, about the home court advantage in Indianapolis for Purdue. Now, this game is Friday at 9 p.m. on TBS, and Purdue is 15th in the country in field goal percentage, where Houston is actually first in the country in points allowed at 74 points a game. This game is going to have a really good point guard matchup. You're going to have Braden Smith for Purdue going against L.J. Cryer from Houston. And Houston's got a lot of athletic players, and I think they're going to have an advantage in this game based on the fact that they do have better athletes and they should be able to dominate the boards. But again, Purdue is getting the favor of playing this game in Indianapolis, so you don't really know how this is going to shake up. I think Houston does win the game, but the game being in Indianapolis may make it a little bit harder for them. I'm just going to close out a little bit about one of the things that I talked about, which is the spending now in college basketball and in college sports in general, and the fact that the teams that spend in these power conferences are going to dominate all the sports, it looks like, because they just have the money to get the best players. The question is March Madness going to lose some of its appeal to a lot of people that like to watch the underdog and like to watch the mid-majors and the Ivies and the Mid-America Conference teams and so on? Everybody loves the Cinderella team, and your Cinderella this year is number 10 Arkansas that won 20 games in the SEC and has a basketball budget of $14 million. So that's your underdog, if you want to call it an underdog. But we'll see what happens the rest of the way in this tournament. Enjoy the games, and I'm going to see you next week for the Final Four.